Masampanayang adlaw, madawgan nga kurawon, pagkahangulang tawo, pagkarakeng alawon. Mayadgid nga adlaw sa tanan, a pleasant day to all of us, especially to our virtual participants, the youth, and the young at hearts participating in this youth forum initiated by the Youth Council of the Capiz State University. My sharing today is entitled From Indigenous Cultural Communities to the World. I would like to introduce first myself. I am Dr. Jesus C. Ensilada, Principal 2 of Malitbog National High School in Malitbog Centro, Kalinog, Iloilo, and at the same time, the Indigenous Peoples Education Focal Person of the Schools Division of Iloilo. I am called Daigtaman in our community. That is my patama or mountain name. Igtaman means someone who has so much to tell. Aside from my passion in teaching, I have been teaching like more than 15 years, or I have been in the educational institution in the Department of Education for more than 15 years. And I've been also into other creative arts like creative writing. I am a writer in the local language, especially in our mother tongue, which is Kinaraya and also Hiligaynon. Igtaman is aptly chosen for me because I write stories and I am fond of telling stories. I am a short story writer and at the same time a novelist. So that's Igtaman, which means someone who has so much to share. And it is always a challenge for me to live by my patama so that I could continue motivating myself to share something, to tell our beautiful stories, especially success stories, stories that inspire and move the people, my people, especially the youth. And it has been my perceived role to inspire, educate, and encourage the youth to participate in community building, in nation building. I could still remember my statement when I joined the Global Teacher Prize, and it says, I love teaching because it is an opportunity to transform the lives of my indigenous students who are deprived and less privileged and empower them to reach their dreams through education. As educators, it is our mantra to bank on the potentials and talents of the young people. We always believe in what they can do, even during the present, and much more on what they can do in the future. So I always believe, as a teacher, I always believe in the potentials of my indigenous people, learners, because I want them to be empowered. I want them to stand up and take up space in their own communities, to develop leadership, to develop self-esteem and confidence, so that they would feel that they are privileged, they are special, and they are empowered to participate meaningfully in the community affairs towards community building, nation building. Through the years, I have come up with my framework as a teacher. I have been advocating culture-based and inclusive education. As an indigenous people's teacher or as an IP teacher, it has been my advocacy to promote that kind of education that is relevant, that is meaningful, that is empowering and liberating for our IP learners. So, talking about culture-based and inclusive education, I see to it that pedagogies are always responsive to the needs of the learners, the IP learners, and I call it the culture-based framework. Culture-based and inclusive education has been my banner program through the years, and as far as I could remember, it started sometime in the early 2000 when I have come up with this framework or this pedagogy or this approach from organizations I've been introduced to, especially the Asosasyon ng mga Dalubhasa May Kasaysayan at Interes sa Kasaysayan, or ADIKA. And there I learned with my fellow scholars, teachers, and also professors from the universities how this framework works and how it could be implemented across curriculums, across grade levels, and especially for the indigenous peoples. With that curriculum framework, I have come up with this paradigm or paradigm which is anchored on the philosophy that education must always be responsive to the needs. It must always drive us, the learners, to discover themselves, and that brings self-awareness. And on the part of the teachers, it could be the basis for their teaching appropriation so that we could produce Filipinos who are culturally rooted and are globally competitive. And also, I have come up with my pyramid of personal advocacy on cultural dissemination, writing and research, as well as culture-based teaching. I would like to share with you my milestones in my career as an educator, and also the milestones in reference to my passion also, which is writing and venturing into other art forms. I am a resident or a native. I am a native of Barangay Alibunan, that is in the municipality of Kalinog. I finished my elementary education from Alibunan Elementary School, and then I proceeded to Kalinog Agricultural and Industrial College for my high school, where I became a part also of the student government, the school paper. I was very active in the school paper as a writer and as an illustrator. I could still remember that I was elevated, or I was qualified to participate in the National Schools Press Conference during our time. That was in 1995, I think, when I was sent to Coronadal, South Cotabato, to compete in editorial cartooning. For that experience for me is very empowering, because It made me overcome my inferiority complex while I was in the high school, because I also experienced to be uh, less motivated because also of some forms of discrimination, because I came from um, a far-flung barangay, and I went down to study for my secondary education for my high school. Uh, some extent of discrimination, at the same time my feeling of being inferior made it hard for me to also to excel in my new environment, living, competing, learning with um, students from various backgrounds, students coming from different high schools, students who are from private schools during their elementary, students where um, students who were coming from other places. But what I could really remember during my high school days, I really liked the idea of being in a farm school, Kalinog Agricultural Industrial College, and if I could still remember that we're really trained to how to love tilling the soil, how to love planting crops. I could still remember that during our during Fridays we would go back to school, and then we would participate in what we call ground improvement, or I could still remember that during before entering high school, we have to finish weeks of working in the farm, and also socializing with the entrant freshmen, so that we could really develop our love for farming, and socialize with incoming first year students, and socialize with other students, with the guidance from our teachers, orientation teachers and orientation advisors. We call it orientation. We were oriented on how our life would be in an agricultural and industrial school. Um, that was sometime in early or late 1990s and early 2000. I finished with honors from Kalinog Agricultural and Industrial College Laboratory High School, and after that I proceeded to Kalinog Agricultural and Industrial College still, through its college department, which offers Bachelor of Science in Industrial Education. Um, I could still remember that we had also courses like Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and Bachelor of Science in Agricultural Education. I decided to take up Bachelor of Science in Industrial Education because also of my inclinations in the different art forms. During my high school, I have already related that I was into drawing, into cartooning, and during that time I also participated in our school publication. It was during my college days when I was given the opportunity to manage our school paper. During my high school it was called the Farmer's Voice, while during my college our school paper was the Golden Harvest. I had two stints, I had two terms as editor-in-chief. That was during my third year and fourth year college, when I served as the editor-in-chief of our school paper, The Golden Harvest. And it was during my time when we joined the college press and won awards in the school paper category. And at the same time, I won in individual writing contests, such as such as feature writing in Filipino. I won silver medal during the regional college press. During my college, I also became the president of the student body organization. That was during my third year, but during my fourth year, I decided not to take up so much leadership roles because I was concentrating on my practice teaching and on my remaining requirements, especially my thesis before I could graduate. I finished or I earned my degree in 2000, my degree in Bachelor of Science in Industrial Education as cum laude. Then now I would like to share with you the milestones of my career as a teacher. I started teaching in 2000, but as a volunteer teacher under the local school board. I could still remember that one of the high school in my community, Alcalde Gustilo Memorial National High School, through its principal, Mrs. Felicitas Gisa Bordo, informed me that they were in need of a volunteer teacher. There was no teaching vacancy yet, but they could accommodate me as a volunteer teacher, earning a meager allowance money from the local school board. That time, I was only receiving 1,500 a month, and that could only be used, or that could already be used as an additional allowance, fare allowance, for example, or allowance for my basic needs such as my baon in going to school, because I could still remember when I was in the elementary, I had to walk from home to school, and that is also what I did when I started teaching at Alcalde Gustilo Memorial National High School. Our house then was located at the center of the rice field, so I have to walk along rice paddies in order to go to school. That was my experience during my elementary and also during my stint as a volunteer teacher in a high school in our community, and that is Alcalde Gustilo Memorial National High School. So I think I was very lucky to be invited. That was very useful for me to have at least a teaching experience right after graduation, so that could prepare me to bigger opportunities, that could prepare and equip me with the skills, knowledge, and values for me to appreciate my stay in the Department of Education and for me to see the real needs of my students. Alcalde Gustilo Memorial National High School is located in Barangay Alibunan. Barangay Alibunan is an indigenous people's barangay or an indigenous people's community. So more than 90% of our students then at the Alcalde Gustilo Memorial National High School, and even today, the school caters to 100% IP learners. And that is how I was able to come up with this approach, to advocate this approach called culture-based and inclusive education. I came to realize that I need to find ways and means in order to make my teaching more relevant and more empowering for my students by giving them the right of giving them that kind of education that is culture-based. Culture-based education that is really for the needs of our indigenous people's learners or the IP learners. It was only in 2002 when my principal, Felicitas Gisa Bordo, and with the local government unit who really made it possible for me to have an item through the local government unit or the local school board. I mean, I became a permanent teacher under the local school board, earning like 8,000 a month, and that was already a big amount for me to support my needs as well as to support my family, my younger siblings. I had still 3 siblings who were going to school. I had to support them also because with a promise that after I have earned my degree and land a job, I would really pay forward to help my younger siblings finish their education as well. Um, I could really remember my diding ni Reza, my older sister, who really supported my education all the way from high school to college. Diding promised to support my education because she saw that potentials in me, the community, my family were really rooting for me to become successful, to get a degree and serve our community. My Diding really motivated me to finish my education, being the first professional in the family out of 9 siblings. I am the 6th child, and my older siblings were not able to finish. They were not able to earn a degree because also of poverty, because also there were they felt that they can just finish high school and already land a job and help the family. But of course, my Diding really believed in me that I could become someone in the future, and so she took up the responsibility to support my education. She was a manicurist beautician in a local salon in the municipality of in Kalinog town, and she really she was really determined, and she was really hopeful that I could get a degree, to be the first professional in the family and serve as a teacher later on. And so she delayed her marriage. She was already in her late 20s, but she said that love can wait. She could build her own family after my graduation. That is why with her story, with our story together, I really get emotional when I mention about her, because she really had that positivity, she really encouraged me to finish an education, and she really has a very big part in whatever success I have. It was in 2010 when she died of lupus. By the way, I graduated in 2000, and in 2002 she got married, and now and they had 3 siblings, and this nephew and nieces of mine live with us, because it was really her last word that we should take good care of her children when she passed away in 2010. And the eldest child is now grade 11. The second child, her second child, is already grade 10, and the youngest is grade 6, entering grade 7 next school year, 2021-2022. So it was in 2002 when I became a permanent teacher under the local school board. I got a DepEd Plantilla in 2005. During our time, we really had the hard time to be a regular teacher, because we had a few vacancies. So I waited, and it was in 2005 that I became a permanent teacher under the Department of Education. I considered this experience from 2000 to 2002 to 2005 as my transition years, the transition period of my career, because I had to learn many things. I had to adjust. I had to coexist with my fellow teachers. I had to innovate. I had to propose something to my school principal, to the school, so that we could cater the needs of our students, especially programs on remedial reading, programs on culture-based education, programs on extra intracurricular activities, so that activities would be that we provided could be very relevant, also learning experience for all our students. It was in 2005, as I was relating to you, that I learned about culture-based education through the Asosasyon ng mga Dalubhasa Mahilig at Interes sa Kasaysayan, and also advocating innovative classroom approaches and classroom activities for my students. It was in 2013. By the way, 3 years after 2005, when I was hired, I became an outstanding teacher in our school's division of Iloilo. I really had the idea that I had to go out and shine and try the platforms where I could send my message to my fellow teachers, especially IP teachers, to be always a bastion of hope, a bastion of light, bringing light not only to IP learners but also to non-IP learners, to inspire them to go on and reach their dreams. In 2008, I became an outstanding teacher not because I wanted to be recognized, but because I want to send my message that IP communities have their own stories to tell also. They have their stories to share, to inspire the community, the whole community, the youth and the students. I joined the search because I wanted to prove that there are also many outstanding teachers out there, teachers coming from small schools, teachers coming from small communities, even remote communities. So I wanted to change the conception about barangay schools. Barangay schools could really shine because there are also best teachers anywhere in the country. There are best teachers from small schools, from rural communities, from indigenous communities. I had been always raising the banner of the indigenous cultural communities. I myself being a proud member of the indigenous cultural community. We are called Dahalawud Non. We live near the Dahalawud River, one of the major rivers in the Panay Island, especially in the central Panay. It was in 2013 when I won as national champion in the Leksyong Sagisag Kultura of the National Commission on Culture and the Arts and the Department of Education. This competition that still happens even today. This happens every year, and it is about writing lesson exemplars on culture-based education, contextualized education, indigenized education or indigenized lesson, and we have to submit this. During my time, we had to compete with finalists coming from the different major islands, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. In my case, because I represented the schools division of Iloilo, I had to compete with finalists coming from the different schools divisions in the Visayas Island, and I successfully qualified. I successfully qualified to the national finals, and during the semifinals, we were housed in Cebu City, and during our national finals, we were in Cavite. It was in 2014, a year after I won in the Leksyong Sagisag Kultura, when I joined the Metrobank Search for Outstanding Teachers. By the way, it was in 2013 still. It was in 2013 when I was nominated for the Bato Balani Foundation's The Many Faces of the Teacher. The Bato Balani Foundation has been advocating about featuring stories of teachers who go beyond their responsibilities as classroom teachers. The Many Faces of the Teacher was my platform to tell my story, to share my advocacy, and at the same time share my inspiration and my accomplishments as a teacher. We were only 4 outstanding teachers selected by the Batul Balani Foundation. It was in 2013 when we were validated, selected, and awarded in in an awarding ceremony held in Manila. It was really a very meaningful and significant experience for me because that time we had different platforms to share our stories. We had newspaper interview, we had our TV guestings, radio program guestings, and it was Boy Abonda um, who hosted the awarding ceremony in a talk show format. So the program was a star-studded program. We were really recognized. We were really recognized for us to really feel that every teacher is special, and for us also to be motivated to continue what we have started. It was in 2014 when I was nominated again in the Metrobank Search for Outstanding Teachers. The Metrobank Search for Outstanding Teachers is considered as one of the most prestigious awards for teachers in the country, and it is also the longest running search for outstanding teachers. We were shortlisted, selected, and awarded along with the military and the soldier. So for the teachers category, we were all 10. We were all 10 selected from the roster of finalists representing the elementary level, secondary level, and tertiary level. Luckily, I was chosen as one of the 4 winners for the secondary level. I could still remember that during because we had a series of activities. First, we will send the nomination form, then the nomination form, then we'll be notified if we qualified. Then that's the time for us to prepare our bid books, our documents. Of course, I already had the awards because the previous year I was awarded by the Batul Balani Foundation as one of the 4 honorees in the many search of the teacher, the many phases of the teacher advocacy. I had also national awards, especially in writing. I had been a Palangka winner since 2010. So that those accomplishments helped convince the panel of judges in the Metrobank Foundation Search for Outstanding Teachers. During our interview and demonstration teaching, on the spot demonstration teaching, we were asked to pick a competency or objective, and all I had was confidence. So sa mga youth natin na nakikinig sa ngayon, it's very important that we develop confidence. You know, I had related that during my my high school years, I had also some extent of self inferiority, but I was able to overcome that. So I became more and more confident because I joined different organizations. I found platforms where I could really make use of my God-given talents to serve my fellow youth, serve my fellow students, for me to socialize and develop my social skills, to overcome my stage fright. I had stage fright also when I was in high school, when I was told to join competitions or competitions where I need to perform on stage. I really had that stage fright. Sometimes I felt discouraged to appear on stage because I could not manage my stage fright. But as years went by, I became more and more confident because I tried to overcome that weakness, that my stage fright and my very low self-esteem esteem as well. I Going back to my journey in the Metrobank search for outstanding teachers, so we had our demonstration teaching. Kailangang pumili, no? So we had to pick up one competency and prepare that for 45 minutes. So, you will be brought to one room, lahat ng mga kailangan ay nandyan. May mga books, but if you will not focus on that task, you will be overwhelmed with the books, the many books, materials. Hindi mo mabalaan, hindi mo mahibaluan kung ano ang unahon mo, kung mag-panic ka or mag-rattle or mag-cramming. So I just composed myself. I really conditioned my mind that I had to win because I was representing the indigenous cultural communities, not just the Panay Bukidnon, but all indigenous cultural communities all over the country. I think this was also my statement during the final interview, chaired by Senator Cynthia Villar. During the final interview, do mga kuha na lang kami sadto, do shortlisted na kami, no, we were 10, I think, pulo kami, nga ginpilian, ti apat lang ang pilion sa high school. So I had to convince the panel of judges that I really deserve one spot in the and to be declared as one of the national winners, one of the outstanding teachers of the Metrobank Foundation. So I told Cynthia Villar during her opening question if what is my advocacy, what I want to happen in that journey of mine in the Metrobank search for outstanding teachers, and I told her that I came as a voice and as a representative of indigenous cultural communities to raise the banner, to raise the mark and send my message that we need to empower. Because I always believe in the idea that to join competition searches is some sort of self-validation, and that is empowering for me, because if we will be recognized, we do not win for ourselves only, but we win together with our communities, with our family, with our families, and the people who have been a part of our school, who have been a part of our success. I mean, we win together with our community, with our own support system. So I won in 2014. That time, I really informed my schools division superintendent in the person of Mirna S. Castillo, and my English supervisor, Dr. Ruby Theris Palmaera, former Palmaera, but now Dr. Ruby Theris Almension. I forgot to tell you that I'm a BSIE graduate, but I had the opportunity to handle English subjects when I started teaching in 2000. So, bisan pang BSIE graduate ako, but because ang kinahanglan sang school nga teacher, ang English teacher, so I had no choice. I enjoyed teaching English through the years, and I became an Englishera, a part of the Englishera, an organization for English teachers in our division. That is why I was very close to our English supervisor, Dr. Ruby Theris Palmaera Almension, whom I really invited together with our schools division superintendent during the awarding ceremony with Senator Drew Lon as our guest of honor. It was in 2015 when I passed the principal's exam for principals, the principal's exam, I mean, for school head, the qualifying exam for school heads and principals. So, ginahatag ina para sa gusto nga mga principal. So, I tried in 2015 and luckily passed that test. It was in 2015 also when I started winning other awards, outstanding teacher awards. The City Savings Bank gave me an award. We have the East West Bank, and then other institutions. And I've been also joining the Palangka Awards since 2010. So, because my principal really believe in what I can do as a school head, kay nagapati siya nga, because she asked me kung ano gid bala ang gusto ko sa akin nga career, kung gusto ko nga mangin master teacher or mangin school head. But I told her that maybe passing the principal's exam was a sign for me to be deployed as a school head. That is why she really believed. Ginpatawagin niya ako dayon after I passed the principal's exam. Nga mag-prepare para sa akin eventual nga pag head sa isa ka school. But this opportunity came, it was in 2015 when I tried again. My message for all our youth participants is that there is no harm in trying, no. It was in 2015 sang try naman ako sang isa ka opportunity kay tinabatian ko man sa iban nga mga outstanding teachers whom I've met sa Bato Balani Foundation and in the Metrobank Foundation search. Nga may mga opportunities to study abroad, nga that is one way for us to equip ourselves, to learn more and to share more to our learners. So hambal ko matry ako submit sa Fulbright Foundation. The program was International Leaders in Education Program. So para ini sa mga teachers nga gusto i-develop further ang anda nga skills sa pagtudlo kang learning areas. I said nga bisa i-graduate ako pero nag-apply ako as a scholar sa English, no. Kahit English na ako gitudloan since 2000 and I became part already of the Englishera family. So hambal ko I will apply as an English teacher through the International Leaders in Education Program. Ang ini nga program nagapili sa mga scholars sa bugos nga Pilipinas to be sent to the United States. So nagtry ako, may ara kaming mga series of exams, may ara kaming some sort of the IELTS. Then gin-test ang amon nga speaking, listening abilities, tapos may ara man nga test nga time pressured nga kinahanglan matapos magid sa given time, short span of time. Na-surpass ko man yadto tanan din. The last stage was ang final interview. With all my credentials man, with all the humility kag sa mga nalambot, bangod man sa ato nga pagpanikasag, I luckily became one of the 4. Apat lang kami nga ginpadara sa United States of America. Amo jang masadya because it was my first experience to go out of the country. Di am lang tatakara naghanggad sa kabukiran, umahan kag kabanwahanan. Because of these opportunities, nagkaamat man kita kadto sa ibang lugar and to learn more, to broaden our horizon, to broaden my horizon, to learn more, to share, in order to share, because you cannot share what you don't have. So sadyagid because I was able to travel sa United States of America. I was assigned at Clemson University in South Carolina. So dito ako for more than 6 months. Ang obra naman dito audit kami sa courses sa Clemson University, one of the outstanding universities in the United States. Top 20 outstanding universities. A very, very big school with more than 20,000 students, kag kadamo-damo sa mga professors, kag kalapad-lapad sa campus, no. May subjects ako or kami, because nag-join kami, gin-assign ako sa Clemson University with the Filipino scholar from the Luzon area. Then ang duha namon kaupod didto naman sa lain nga state. So nagbrulag kami tanan. Pero nag-join kami sa other scholars halin sa naglain-lain nga countries. Ang upod namon, ang madumduman ko from Egypt, from Malaysia, from Uganda, Ganaya, Mexico, kag iban pagid nga mga countries. So nag-eskwela kami sa Clemson University, may audit courses ako. Ang mga ginpili ko nga subjects on literacy, reading and writing, kay gusto ko nga tutukan ang remedial reading program pagbalik ko. Kag ang reading writing man nga program. So may ginbual man ako mga subjects like educational technology, kung paano gamitin ang mga bagong mga teknolohiya. Ito yung mga na-experience sa Clemson University, ang ginatawag nga Blackboard, ang ginanamin natin nga Blackboard, ang ginagamitan natin ka chalk. No? Pero tuyatan ang Blackboard is electronically operated. Amo na ang Blackboard nga pwede dira ang imo nga PowerPoint, kagula na siya ginasulatan, no? Nga nagaangot na sa imo, for example nga laptop, dira ka ma-type so ma-project dito sa Blackboard. Syempre nagminanol kita because that was that was my first time to go out of the country. Pero amo to very significant experience, isa sa mga importante nga milestone sa akin nga kabuhi, sa akin nga career bilang teacher, bilang isa ka IP teacher, kag bilang isa man ka manunulat. Bangod during my stay in the United States, wagid ako uyang ang panahon nga mag-explore, mag-learn, mag-join sa mga activities. I joined their writers festival, nag-learn ako, nag-mingle ako sa mga different writers coming from the different nationalities, writers of different nationalities. Then of course ang akon learning experience with my fellow scholars. Then we were able to develop our professional development module. Kag bilang isa ka IP teacher, ang aka gid gitutukan ng culture-based education, amura aka nga ginsulat nga professional development module para mapadalman ko pagid ano ang approach nga dia. Kag amura nga aka nga gin-share sa mga fellow educators ko there nga amura nga akong gina-advocate, kag amudang gusto ko nga research nga tapuson, kag makasulat ako kang duro nga mga papers about that. So amo marang akong naging tutukan sa akin nga mga subjects, audit courses ko sa Clemson University, where I took up culture-based education related nga mga courses. So tuya man ako na-amaze sa mga professors naman sa college because they were so empowering. Natawaan ka daw lain ang nga approach bala sa pagtudlo, no, very empowering ina. Daw medyo hindi na ang mga traditional natin nga approaches nga more kita sa rote memory, do ka nakakahon ang aton nga mga ano. So tuya nagbukas ang akin kaisipan nga kung nag-deal kita sa aton mga estudyante, sa mga kabataan, we need to give them space wherein they could be themselves, i-develop nga nga full potentials, kilalahan gid ang mga kaugalingon, especially sa mga indigenous cultural communities. Agud mangin more mangin prouder sila, no, more aware ka ng kaugalingon kag prouder of their own identity, roots and culture. So amura ang natabo ko na ako sang 2005. Tapos ang nagbalik ako, since ginpatawag ako before pa ako naghalin kang akin nga superintendent ka maghanda ron bilang mangin school head. So right away, amo gid ra ang importante ka natin nga mga youth nga ipakita nato kung anong masarangan natin, because ang mga tawo nga sa palibot natin kung nagapati sanda sa atin mga kausa, sa atin mga ikasarang, they're always there to support us. Pareho kang akon nga schools division superintendent nga one time nakaagto ako sa division, ginpasaka niya ako sa ana nga office because I was qualified naman to become a school head. Ti permado dayon ang akon nga designation, why duro nga mga ano, because naka ano roman ako, qualified roman ako kay genre ako sa RQA or sa Registry of Qualified, or genre ako sa ranking, I mean ang ranking ang sa mga school heads, no. So right away nag-serve ako sa isa sa mga high school sa Cabatuan, Iloilo. It was for 2 years. Kag duro man ako nga na-learn kay ti amura ako nga baptism of fire into school leadership, into school management of school. So right after that ano ko nga pag-head sa isa ka high school sa Cabatuan, Iloilo, kag manog-retire to nga akon nga superintendent, kay ba grabe gid ang suporta kanakan do kanagid bala nagsugod ang akong nga career bilang school head kay tanagid ang nagpati kanakan. Tanagid ang nagapatigid tanang nga ako mangin isagid ka school head later on ka maka-contribute gid sa edukasyon especially ka mga IP learners. Tanagid ang nag-inspire kanakan kag nag-guide kanakan ka nagbulig kanakan nga makaposisyon. So nagbalik ako, ginbalik niya ako sa Kalinog, sa Alcalde Gustilo, sa pinakauna ko gid nga school, no. Sa naistorya ko ron kaina, tuya ako nag-OIC principal, bangod wala ako nadara ang akon nga item pa kay during that time wala hindi pa bakante ang Alcalde Gustilo Memorial National High School because na detail lang ang anda nga principal pero ginapong ko ana gihapon ang position. So nag-ano ako anay, naghulat ako anay bilang OIC principal do mga more than a year man to or more or less mga 1 year siguro. Kang manug-retire rin na naghambal na nga di kinahanglan makaposisyon gid ako because my position then was head teacher 3, so kinahanglan maka-principal 1 gid ako being a principal's exam passer na. So nangita gid siya kapaagi nga kundi nang bakante to gin ano niya ako sa Lambuno, may bakante sa Kaningwa National High School kag didto nagpungko ako bilang school principal 1. Daw mga 3 years man ako didto nga nangin school head, nangin principal, kag duro gid ang akin nga experiences didto together with my teachers, the community, and especially our students with the support of the parents. Duro ang amon mga ginhimo, duro ang amon nga na-learn sa isa kag isa kag because mga pamatan-an ang mga teachers didto puno gid kang mga youthful pareho kaninyo. Young at heart, mga iban mga youth, pa-consider pa nga youth because in the Philippines, ang ating nga definition kang youth, nag-start siya sa 15. Ang mga 30 years old, gina-consider pa natin nga youth. Bisan gani ang mga 40, mga feeling young at heart, gina-consider pa gyapon natin nga 40 nga youth o kon pamatan-an o kon kabataan. So bangod mga kabataan sanda mga grabe ang anda nga energy, ang anda nga youthful ang anda nga kapagsik bilang mga kabataan. So durong amon mga nahimo, mga na-accomplish sa Kaningwa National High School. And here comes an opportunity nga ma-promote liwat bilang school principal 2 right after nga na-elevate ako sa civil service Pag-asa Award bilang isa ka semi-finalist. Siguro na-convince man ang aton nga mga big bosses nga buligan gid ang mga teachers pareho kadya nga nagapanikasag gid nga magsaka man ang nga career kay kung kita naga-serve kita sa ating mga communities kinahanglan natin nga magsaka man ang atong career kay para ma-sustain man natin ang ating nga mga advocacies and activities kay kung nagadugang ang ating nga sweldo may magamit kita sa nagaamat nga duro kay kung nagasaka ang atong nga posisyon nagaduro ang mga innovations nga nagaabot ka natin kag kung ang atin man nga horizon bala naga-broaden ga-widen man duro ang mga madumduman natin kag then we could really realize nga samtang nagataas kita ang aton nga posisyon ang aton mga responsibilidad sa community nagalapad man no nagaduro man ang gusto naton buligan because that is always our mantra that if we're given the opportunity we always find also the opportunities to help others to pay forward and to not just to pay back but to pay forward. Hanggang ang mga milestones pagad yung natabo sa akong kabuhi because in 2017 ginominate ako because of these awards. Duro matawang nagapati ka na nga duro pagad ang gusto ko nga mabuligan gani gusto nanda nga i-feature ang akan nga story para duro pagid ang ma-inspire gani ginominate ako kang amon nga pinalangga nga education program supervisor pakato HRDD chief na naga-serve nga HRDD chief ang sa Human Resource Development Division sa DepEd Regional Office nga si Ma'am Susan De Severino. Gina-consider ko si Ma'am Susan De Severino nga ang akan manager. Kung sa mga artista may mga manager, sa mga teachers man may mga manager man kita ang ginatawag ang akan nga talent scout ag manager nga si Ma'am Susan Severino kay tanagi dira ang naga-nominate kanakan para sa mga awards especially sa Princess Machakri Award. Ang Princess Machakri Award is very important to me, very significant bangod after ako na-recognize diya sa Philippines, gin-nominate ako ni ma'am para sa among kadyang international award bilang isa sa mga outstanding teachers in Southeast Asia. Waay ko gid panumdum da sa isa ka libo ko nga pag panumdum waay ra nag-abot sa akang paminsaran nga in the future matabo ri ang ma-recognize ako because of my hard work and determination, and also because of my big heart for my community, especially my indigenous people's learners, mga akan nga mga IP learners. Kag wa gid ako nagdumdum nga matabo dian nga ma-recognize ako by none less than the Princess of Thailand, Princess Masha Kusarindorn. Tuya kami gin awards sa Bangkok, Thailand. 11 kami tanan nga mga outstanding teachers, tag-isa ka outstanding teacher kada member Southeast Asian country, kag ako ang nag-represent kang Pilipinas. Tuya durong akong mga na-learn, nakipag-istorya ako sa mga outstanding teachers, fellow outstanding teachers coming from the different Southeast Asian countries. Kag nakapasalamat ako sa bilog nga Department of Education sa andang pag-support sa akin nga mga kausa kag advokasya, sa akin nga mga initiatives, sa akin nga classroom, sa akin nga akan gina-share sa akin nga fellow teachers kag sa amon nga schools division of Iloilo. Nakaimaw ko tuya nga nag-attend sa program si Director Margarita Consolacion C. Ballesteros. Kung may talent manager ako sa national level, Tanaruman Diano, si Ma'am Susan sa regional level, kag si Ma'am Marge Ballesteros duman sa national level, nga tana ang naga-nominate karadya kanakan para sa mga international awards. So amo to ang akan nga journey sa Princess Machakri Award. Ikaduha ko nga travel outside the country, kag nagkadto ako sa Bangkok, Thailand for the awarding ceremony and for the forum. It was in 2018, no, sang ginominate na naman ako, hambali Ma'am Susan Severino na award ni ka sa Outstanding Teacher in Southeast Asia. I-nominate naman ikaw sa Outstanding Teacher of the World. Ang Global Teacher Prize, kung i-search ninyo sa inyong mga i-search ninyo sa Google o kung sa inyong mga browsing apps, makita ninyo nga isa sa mga prestigious awards, no? The Nobel Prize for Teachers diya ang tawag nanda. Kag naga-recognize daya ang pinaka-award ka sole winner amo ang 50 million US dollars. So luckily napili ako nga mangin top 10 finalist, but ang nagdaogi during our time is from ang nagdaogid is from London, representing the Great Britain. Ako ang nag-represent sa Philippines, and the only Asian nga na hanggad man nga bugal, no, hindi lang man gid nga bugal, pero ang learning experience pareho kang pag-intra sa mga education and skills forum, because more than a week kami dito, kag none less than ang nakaima kong ating Secretary of Education Leonor Magtoles Briones nga amo gid ang akang nga nakaimo during the awarding ceremony, nga naghambal gid nga you can do it, don't be nervous, don't get nervous kay kung ano man ang mangin resulta, you are still an outstanding teacher. So isa ako sa top 3 nga nag-vie for the title, pero ang nagdaog during our time was from London. I was very happy that ako ang the only Asian to represent Asia continent sa Global Teacher Prize. So gusto ko galing nga i-plug sa tanan natin nga mga youth tulad nga nagapamati nga kung waay man kamo naka-apply this year para sa Global Student Prize, may ara man kita nga award para sa mga students nga ginatawag natin nga Global Student Prize. 30,000 US dollars ang if you may check, if my memory serves me well, doon mo ina ang premyo para sa isa ka mapalaran nga estudyante. Isa ka estudyante nga may marahalon nga advokasya para sa magbulig sa pareho nga mga pamatan-an kag mga estudyante, especially ang anang mga ginahimo is sa tulad nga may pandemya kita. So to 2018, so nagpadayon ng akin nga hikot, no, liwat ako nga gin-awardan kang Metro Bank Foundation bangod according kananda nga since gin-award ako kang 2014 way ako nagdulog, nagpadayon ako sa akin nga mga ginahimo sa culture-based education kag pag-serve kang akong community bilang teacher, kag sa pag-develop sa mga materials ako bilang writer man kag content developer. So Gin-award nila ako sang 2019, ginatawag ang award nga ACES Award, a Continuing Excellence and Service Award for all sa mga nangin recipients sang Metrobank Award. Sa akin nga PowerPoint nga i-share man kanyo late gina-share man sa inyo, nakita ninyo mga samples kang akin nga, no? If I were to describe myself as a writer, I would say that I am a culture-based writer because I would always tell the stories of my people. Siyempre amo gira atin rooted gid kita bilang mga tumandok sa atin nga kultura, kag amo ang gusto natin nga isa-isa. Is why siguro nagakabagay ka na nga patamang someone has so much to tell because sa mga storya man nga gusto kong isugid. Sa makita ninyo turuba sa suba, isa sa mga ang tuba ba lang nga ginagamit natin sa pangisda, no? Ang pagpauli ni Wakil, no? Makita man ninyo diyan ang pagpati natin sa mga anting-anting, nagsayop sa ginsunan ang pagpati natin sa mga aswang. So ginahampangan ko diyan mga pareho ka diyan mga konteksto agud mangin interesting sa mga manugbasa. By the way, isa ako ka published writer. May mga libro ako nga na-publish sa kasing-kasing press, kag nagsulat ako bilang short story writer kag novelista ako sa Hiligaynon Magazine of the Manila Bulletin Publishing Corporation. Pero nag-untat ron diya kang nagligad ng matinuig ang pagpublikar kan diyang magazine. Sister magazine diya kang Liwayway sa naman-an ko nga bantog kanyo pa ang barasahan nga Liwayway. Ang driver ka ang pasahero, istorya man kang teacher nga nangin kagogma ang nga driver sa motor, no? Ang kapid ang dako. So amo diya ang mga sampo kang akang mga storya nga more or less mga close to 100 ang akan dun nga mga istorya, kag mga istorya diya natin nga mga panay bukidnon natin nga mga IP natin nga mga Ilonggo kag mga Panayanon. Isa man sa mga ginahimo ko amo nga magtao kang plataporma para sa akong mga estudyante, para mapakita ang andang mga talents, kag I'm also into research. Isa man sa mga advocacy ko ang research. That's why I have these photos that show my research presentations and performances. Okay, amo dyan ako mga estudyante. Ginadara natin ating mga estudyante, especially nga ating mga IP learners, agud ma-develop ang andang self-esteem. Amo dyan marahalin para sa mga pamataan natin nga pamati, nga magpangita agad ka mga opportunity, agud nga mahon ang inyong knowledge and skills, sa inyong mga talents, magamit kag mapakita ninyo. Kag most importantly, mag-improve ang inyong self-esteem. Kag agud ma-maximize gid ninyo ang inyong potentials, kag mapakita agud ninyo kung sino kamo. Okay. Ang matutuod nga kamo bilang mga pamatanon, kag bilang mga katapo kang aton mga kateringban kag aton nga pungsod. Amo diya ang aton nga mga ang amon nga mga activities. Isa man gali ako ka nagsugod kang mga activities para sa youth, especially sa mga IP natin, mga filmmakers, young filmmakers. Duha nga ako gin-found nga film festivals, isa sa Lambunaw, ang Lambulinaw Film Festival, kag ang sa Kalinog nga nag-run pa even today, even this time, even this year, ang even during the pandemic, ang Sugidanon Film Festival nga na-inspire sang aton nga Sugidanon because we Panayanon, we Panay Bukidnon are very known for our very beautiful stories contained in our Sugidanon, our epic. Duro ang aton mga istorya nga dapat natin isugid, hindi lamang sa bugos nga Pilipinas kundi sa bugos nga kalibutan. Amo dyan mga random nga mga photos nga napakita kung paano ako ginpili. Very humble experience man para kanakan nga mapili bilang isa sa mga 12 outstanding teachers of the East-West Bank. Kag sa makita ninyo nakaimaw ko dyan sa Efren Piña, Florida, bisan ang mga napatay din sa Maria Teresa Magbanua, si Jose Falianes Escoda, si Mambio, kag si Randy Halasan nga kaimaw ko sa Batubalani Foundation, kag tulad isa din ka commissioner para sa urban poor. Nangin cover man ako ka magazine, kami because after we won in the Batolani Foundation search, kag nangin cover kami kang magazine nga in Sunday Inquirer, bilang mga The Many Faces of the Teacher winners sang 2013. Nagdaog man ang akon nga nobela nga tumandok sa Writers Prize kang National Commission in Culture and the Arts, kag isa ja ka gin award sang 2017 ang akong nga nobela nga tumandok. amo diyang akong photo nga pakita kang isa ka awards night sa Carlos Palanca Memorial Awards for Literature. Of course, it is the longest running writing contest in the country. Pero this time, during the pandemic, medyo nag-untat anay. Pero hopefully, magabalik ang Palangka Awards because amo na lang ang opportunity sa mga writers, especially ang mga youth natin nga mahilig magsulat. You could always write your stories and other genres nga may ano man kita, may ara man kita nga category para sa youth natin. Okay, ang kabataan sanaysay or essay writing contest for young writers. Okay, makita ninyo, i-search ninyo ang akin ngaran, makita ninyo sa Google para mabasa ninyo man ang mga sinulatan ko online, sa Balay Sugidanon, sa Dangog Ginaray, kag nakasulat gani sa Balay Sugidanon website ang akin nga first experience of snow, ang lao kang uma, ang lutak bala kang uma, kag ang snow kang Amerika, murang tigulo kang akin nga ginsulat nga akin nga ginsulat sa Balay Sugidanon website. Makita ninyo ang picture ko dyan, first experience of snow. I forgot to remember, aside from teaching sa amon nga audit courses sa Clemson University, I had also the opportunity to teach American students sa Riverside Middle School. So sa Pendleton sa pihak nga banwa nga ginatawag nanda do banwa parak natin, tuya duman ako nagtudlo. So while having may schedule lang balaan kami sa amon nga mga audit courses kun tapos may schedule pagid kami nga magtudlo sa isa ka part da ka mga program nga dapat maka-experience kami sa pagtudlo didto ginbida gid natin ang atin nga mga kultura, gintudlo natin, gin-share natin sa kabataan, gin-integrate natin ang ginatawag bala natin nga contextualization. I handled students writing sa anda nga writing subject, grade 8 didto kananda, so nag-enjoy gid ako. I hope nga nag-enjoy man sanda sa aka nga pagtudlo kananda. Amodya ang princess kang Thailand no, ginbaton kong akong award directly from her. Kadadlawan pa gani nga gina-instructional pa kami nga may mga etiquettes para nga kung nagkatubang ikaw kang prinsesa, may mga dapat ikaw himuon. So gina-orient kidra kami, hindi kami dapat gentle ang among nga pagbaton, hindi kami ra makaturok kuno directly sa ana nga mga mata. I don't know, basta daw mura ang madumduman ko. Then, gin-announce ang Global Teacher Prize ni Bill Gates. Kilala man ninyo siguro si Bill Gates, no? Tana ang nag-announce nga nadara ako sa top 10. So, amura akong mga imaw, Belgium, South Africa, Australia, kag sa mga Latin American countries, pulo kami tanan. So amura sa stage no naka-green ako, makita ninyo diyan ako sa star-studded nga awards night kang Global Teacher Prize. Kag ang aten nga syempre ang bandera natin kang Pilipinas tuya nakawagayway sa Dubai. Sa Dubai galing amon nga awards. More than a week ako tuya sa Dubai. So na-realize ko nga ang nagkakatabo nga sa atin kabuhi kung imo gid hambak ang atong kamalaman, pero magpanikasag man kita agud maagom natin ang mga gusto natin matabo sa atin kabuhi. Kag gusto ko dya ipaabot nga istorya sa atin mga sa atin mga kabataan, sa mga especially sa atin nga IP youth, sa nagaparamati nga mga kabataan sa tulad nga magpanikasagid. Education is your gateway to a better life. So hindi kini pagpabayaan ninyo nga pag-eskwela, pareho kanakan nga duro man ginagyan kung makabudlayan sa kabuhi, pero nangin inspirasyon daya agod himuon ang tanan nga masarangan ko agod makakita ako kang plataporma ang akin nga pagkamanunudlo kag pagkamanunulat agod so that I could better serve my communities. Salamat kag madawgan nga kurawon sa liwat.